In Conversation with Terry Shepard, award-winning broadcaster, narrator, and author. A deep dive into the writer's craft with the artists and support systems who create the stories we love.
Thanks, Lisa. We're thrilled to welcome back award-winning author C.B. Wilson to explore her newest release, Puppied to Death, the 9th book in the beloved Barkview mystery series. Known for weaving humor, heart, and a touch of canine chaos into every mystery, Cheryl continues to charm readers with her knack for crafting unforgettable whodunits, this time with a mischievous puppy at the center of the crime scene. C.B. Wilson, welcome back to the conversation.
Thank you for having me, Terry. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Take us through Puppied to Death.
Puppied to Death was a book that I absolutely had to write. I am a fan of Hawaii. I have been there many, many, many times, and I always knew that I would write a book about Hawaii or taking place on Hawaii, and I had to have the right characters. And by puppies and chaos in the hula land of hula just went together so well, I couldn't stop myself.
And you introduce the Miss Marple Mahjong Mamas in this book. Tell us about them.
I am a fan of Mahjong, have learned over the past few years how much fun it can be to play with a group of people and the different personalities that the game brings together. And in doing that, it really fit perfectly with sleuthing because you have many different personalities with many different types of traits that are just great coming together as one.
One of the things that I really love about your writing is that you are writing for a higher cause. Your thing is animal adoption. How did that become so important in your life?
As the story goes, my mother, who is essentially couch potato, she is not someone who really likes to exercise much. She ended up adopting a Jack Russell Terrier. It was a long relationship that was it wasn't very good in the end. This dog was running circles around us for 14 years. So what I realized at the end of that was that there really is a right dog for everyone. That my mom probably should have done her homework first and gotten herself a little lap dog and everything would have been just wonderful. I've seen so many people with those incredible relationships with their dogs, and helping people find that relationship was very important to me, especially when I discovered that dogs in adoption centers are turned in because they don't fit in the family that they were originally adopted to. And how traumatic is that, one, for the family and also for the dog to have to go through several homes in the course of his life through nothing that they did wrong. It's just the family didn't do their homework to decide if the dog could do well with them. I had an interesting thing happen along those lines. It was when I wrote Shepherded to Death, I met a woman and her son bought the book because they wanted to adopt a German Shepherd. And I was thrilled that they did that. I did get an email from her several months later, and it thanked me for writing Shepherded to Death because at the end of the book, they realized that a German Shepherd was not the right dog for their family. And I felt so good. That made me realize that, yes, what I'm writing is helping, and it's helping people understand what those traits are and what it is that you have to look for in the dog itself. If you're a runner, please don't get someone who sits on your lap.
What has the series taught you about selecting the right canine companion?
I believe there is a right dog for everyone. I truly believe that. And they are a soulmate if you do have the right dog. And I think that there's different dogs for different people at different times of their lives as well. That if you're a very active family, you probably don't want a dog that doesn't play, that prefers to sit and nap. And if you're a later stage in your life where you're more sedentary, then definitely get yourself a lap dog.
A special guest is Cheryl C.B. Wilson. We're talking about Puppied to Death, her latest and greatest. cbwilsonauthor.com is her website. And I remember from our last conversation that you began writing by rewriting the end of Nancy Drew Mysteries because you didn't like the way that they finished.
That is so true, Terry. And And who was I at 10 doing that? But what actually did happen with Puppied to Death is there is an alternative ending for Puppied to Death. And what happened is I wrote the book, finished the book, got to the end, and the heroine cat jumped up and said, no, he didn't do it. So I ended up going back in and rewriting the ending of the book for Puppied to Death. So if anybody who has read the book and would like the alternative ending, please just send me an email and I am happy to send it out.
Are you more of a pantser, or do you know from the beginning where the story is going to go?
I am a pantser. As I start getting through the story, it takes turns that surprise me. And honestly, I don't know who the murderer is until the very end of the book. And I like that because then I'm as interested in the finding out who the murderer is as everybody else is.
How did a Renaissance woman with interests in gemology and a very successful business career that continues to today become a writer of fiction?
This is really me admitting to something that I probably shouldn't. I'm a control freak. And what I love about writing is that I completely control the world until the heroine tells me otherwise.
Where did the control freak thing come from?
I just like to control my environment around me. And what I find in business and in my life is that things happen that I don't have control over. There is nothing that happens in Barkview that I don't control.
How do you balance humor, mystery, and suspense so well?
I think it's really just looking at a situation and trying to find the humor in it in my life. And my mother, unfortunately, now is suffering from dementia. And in coping with that, I'm finding that humor is the one way to get through it, is to realize that I'm there for her. I'm there through the duration of this process. And for my sanity, I have to be able to sit back and say, this is what happened today. And you know what? The good news is we had today. So it's looking at the positive of it and really relying on humor to get through.
I read that your plot ideas come from horseback riding. What is it about that exercise that gets your creative juices flowing?
I've ridden my whole life. I started out as a hunter jumper way back when, and it's just one of the places I relax. I think everybody has their happy place. My personal happy place is on horseback. Whether it's being outdoors, it's being just the ability to ride in the wind. Some people tell me they get their ideas in the shower. No, thank you. I think I'd rather be on horseback when I can't ride it down.
How old were you when you first rode a horse?
I started riding when I was 8. In fact, my husband and I are going to spend our anniversary this year at a dude ranch in Tombstone.
You are working full time. You've got a life, a social life, and yet you write these books. How do you manage it all?
Truthfully, when I find when I'm towards the end of a book and I come to the point where I have to focus and finish it, the best thing I can do is book myself on a long airplane flight, because I write the best on an airplane when there's no interruptions and I have no one that can bother me. They can't call me. They can't ask me a question. And it's my time on an airplane. So that was actually how I started writing, was long international trips. That I'm not a movie watcher necessarily. I like to read. And I just said, write the ending of this one. So I said, maybe I should just write my own. And that's really what got me started, was the long international flights. And I was just in Orlando at an event called the Global Pet Expo, which was all about dogs and food and treats and clothing for dogs and animals. And it was just a wonderful show. But I got so much done on that flight home from Orlando, I couldn't believe it this week. It was great.
Will you ever run out of ideas for Barkview Mysteries?
The short answer is no. Kat has a ways to go yet in her life of what she needs to accomplish. So I will continue to write the Barkview Mysteries. However, Kat needed a break. Rather, I needed a break, probably. I'm writing a new series right now that is called The Diamond Detectives, is the series name. It features a wiener dog. So it's a dachshund who is a diamond dog. And now these dogs really do exist. They find diamonds in the rocks so that they can find them 200 feet deep in the rocks and be trained to alert you that there are diamonds in the vicinity. So in this particular case, what I ended up doing was the heroine is a diamond detective for insurance agencies. So the insurance company would hire her to find a diamond that has been stolen. So we have a dachshund who is helping her find stolen diamonds. And these are not small diamonds, mind you.
Do you remember the horse ride when that idea came to you? Where were you?
I
What were you
sure
doing?
do.
Where was it and what were you doing?
I was actually riding in Tucson at a place called the Tanca Verde Ranch. And I had just had a battle with a snake. We were galloping along and the horses reared when there was a snake going across the path in front of us. It was like the whole idea came together as I'm getting bucked off a horse.
What is the hardest part about writing for you?
Finding the time. Unfortunately, it's not particularly local, so it's a commitment of time to go out to ride. And then, of course, in the summers here, it's too hot. So it then becomes even more complicated when you're trying to ride in Colorado or in other places.
Cheryl C.B. Wilson is our guest. We're talking about Puppied to Death and the Barkview Mystery Series, and she's given us a little tantalizing clue about what is coming next. What do your 5-star readers say they like most about your writing?
Oh, some people like the dogs and how they're involved in the stories. Others prefer that it's a cat person really looking at the different traits of the dog. And maybe some cat people are saying, maybe this one's not the same as what I thought all dogs were like. I think that's part of it. And then I always get the folks who absolutely love the character. Naming
your protagonist, Cat, in a series about dogs was just brilliant.
You've just got some insight into my sense of humor.
What do you hope the big underground takeaway will be for readers of the Barkview Mystery Series?
I hope that they truly believe that there is a soulmate for them. And that soulmate may be a dog. Enjoy it when you have the animal. Enjoy every piece of that because heaven knows it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
The book is Puppied to Death. Our special guest, Cheryl C.B. Wilson, her website, cbwilsonauthor.com. And you can get the Barkview series wherever very cool books are sold. Cheryl, always a pleasure. Great to see you again.
Thank you, Terry. It's always a pleasure speaking with you as well.
In Conversation with Terry Shepard is a copyrighted presentation. All rights reserved. I'm Lisa Davis. Join Terry Shepard next time in Conversation.